What's up, Kids Rock? Welcome into the second week of our series called Brain Games, where we're learning that all the emotions that we feel, like anger, sadness, and worry, come from our big old brains. But Jesus helps us control these emotions so that we don't make bad choices even when we get angry and even when we're worried. Today, we're learning that we can make the right choice. And Jesus helps us make the right, loving choice for everyone. It's going to be a fun week. So if you're online, you're going to go straight into your brain illusion and your Bible story. If you're on campus, whether it's Conway, Aner, or Coastal, you're going to go into a time of worship where you're going to party together and then we'll learn together. Let's get it started. Here we go.
Hey, you're gonna like this one. 7 riddles that will test your brain power. Our brain is a mysterious thing. We know more about stars than about the things inside our heads. But what we do know about the brain is that it gets less sharp and productive with age.
What'd you say?
Never mind. You have a maximum of 20 seconds for each task, but try to answer the questions as fast as possible. Counting down, here's test number 7. Take a very close look at these 2 photographs. What is the mistake they have in common? If you still can't figure it out, let's turn the photos upside down. It looks horrible, right? The eyes and lips of both women are upside down, but your brain doesn't recognize that immediately. The thing is, the brain is not used to seeing eyes and lips in that position. Test number 6. How many holes does this t-shirt have? What, mine? Oh, the one on the screen. Never mind. The question doesn't specify which holes exactly, so the right answer is 8. They are the neckline, 2 sleeves, the bottom of the t-shirt, and 4 holes in the middle. 2 in the front and 2 in the back, because we can see the background through them. Test number 4. Can you manage this one in 5 seconds? I'll give you 20 seconds, but try to solve it as fast as possible. The mistake is not in the numbers or their colors. The mistake is that the word spot appears twice. Your brain doesn't always show you the reality. It often shows what it is used to.
David was a man after God's own heart, and he was a good king too. He loved God and he tried to live and lead God's way. One night, David took a walk up to the roof of the palace where it was cool. When he got there, he looked over at another roof and noticed a woman. The woman's name was Bathsheba. David said to his servant,
"Go and tell that woman to come to the palace."
When David saw Bathsheba, he thought she was very beautiful.
"She is so lovely. I want her to be mine."
But Bathsheba already had a husband named Uriah, a soldier who served in King David's army.
This is a problem.
So David made a terrible choice. "I know, I'll have Uriah killed in battle." And that's what David did. Soon, David and Bathsheba were married. David had done a very bad thing. He should have felt very badly about it, but he didn't. He was just glad he didn't get caught.
No one will ever know.
One day, Nathan came to David. Nathan was a prophet who heard from God. He told David a story.
Once there were 2 men. One of them was rich with lots of sheep and cattle. The other man was very poor. All he had was one little lamb. He loved the little lamb so much, he made it his pet. It ate and even slept in the house like part of the family. One day, the rich man had a visitor who was very hungry, and even though the rich man had hundreds of sheep of his own, he decided to go and steal the little pet lamb from his neighbor's house to cook for the visitor's dinner.
What that rich man did was so wrong. He should be punished.
The rich man is you. God knows what you have done. You had everything, all of the riches of the kingdom, and Uriah was poor and only had his wife, who he loved very much. Still, you took his wife away and you had him killed. God is going to punish you for this terrible, terrible thing. Bad things will happen in your family now.
David suddenly realized how terrible he had been. He felt awful and was very sorry for all he had done. So he cried out to God from his heart, "Lord, I'm so sorry. I know I have done things that are terrible in your sight. Will you forgive me?" The Lord knew what was in David's heart. He did not just say he was sorry. He really was sorry. The Lord forgave David of his sin.
So today we're talking about making the right choice. Now, last week we learned that the amygdala was the thing that helped us either fight or flee. This week we're talking about the frontal lobe, which is a lot easier to point out. It's this whole front part that you see right here. If you open up the brain, it's all of this. Yeah. So the frontal lobe is what gives us our personality. It's what makes me silly and crazy. It's what makes some of you quiet and a little more reserved. It's also what helps us interact with others and make choices. Here's the thing about the frontal lobe though. If we are constantly putting bad things inside of our brains and looking at bad things and hearing bad things and doing bad things, our frontal lobe will start to develop in a way that continues to make us make bad choices. If we allow our frontal lobe to be the thing that leads us all the time, well, you might end up making a mistake like David did in the book of 2 Samuel. See, David made the first mistake by being where he wasn't supposed to be. As the king of Israel, he should have been at war with his army, but he decided to stay home instead. And because he was where he wasn't supposed to be, he made another bad choice by seeing a beautiful woman on another roof and decided, yeah, he wanted her. So even though she was married, he married her anyway. He made another bad choice. And instead of coming clean and trying to ask for forgiveness about it, he decided to bring home the woman's husband named Uriah, who was one of his army's leaders, and say, hey, Uriah, you should totally stay home with your wife and just, take it easy, man. But Uriah had integrity, and he made the right choice and said, no, I can't abandon my men. I have to go back to war. So David, knowing that Uriah wouldn't agree to his plan, sent Uriah to the front line, which is the most dangerous place to be, and Uriah died. So David did so many bad things. Obviously, God saw all this because God sees everything. And he sent the prophet Nathan to David to tell him a story that would make David realize how big of a mistake and all the mistakes he had made. David felt terrible. He began to weep and to cry, and he begged for forgiveness, not only from Nathan, but from God. And of course, God forgave David, but it leads us to what's so important to learn this week. You might wonder, I don't know how to make the right choice. I do bad things all the time and I don't know why. Well, guys, we come factory equipped with sin. We're born into it. We live in a broken world and no one teaches us how to lie. No one teaches us how to hit. We just naturally do it. And you can blame this guy. But we can learn how to make the right choice by thinking of a couple of very good truths. Number one, is it good for everyone involved? If we want to do something loving for others, we have to think about, is it good for them and is it good for me? Because so many times we want to get something, but we don't think about the consequences of us getting it. You might think, I want that toy. All you're focused on is getting that toy. You don't care that it's someone else's toy, so you take it, and then that kid has their feelings hurt. And they may try to hit you. They may go get you in trouble. And it's all because you didn't stop and think about whether it was good for them and good for you. And number two, are you willing to make a sacrifice for it? And it could be a good sacrifice where you're being selfless and you're giving someone your lunch money so that they can have food that day. Or are you willing to get in trouble for it? No matter if you're by yourself or if it's for 100 different people, bad choices always have consequences. And if you're looking at something that you're not supposed to be looking at, you might think it's not harming anyone else, but I promise you it's harming you. Because if you wouldn't look at it or do it while your mom or dad are around, then you should not be doing it. And you know what I'm talking about. So, this week, make the right choice. Stop and think. Because it's what Jesus wants us to do, and it's what Jesus did.